Hi, everyone. I hope you are doing well. So, I wrote a post about this on my Facebook page, but I wanted to make a video about it as well because I thought it was a really important topic. And seeing as there has been really intense energy shifts lately around the planet, I thought maybe this might be helpful for some people because providing some sort of navigation or tools for people to help them to figure things out might be helpful during this time. So, how do I start? All right. So, what exactly is spirituality and why is it important for healing? Why is spirituality important for healing? So, let's do the first part. What exactly is spirituality? So, I'm going to tell you what I believe spirituality is, what I truly believe spirituality is, because there can be so many different meanings, and I know that spirituality can be very personal for everyone else, but this is what I really believe the true meaning of spirituality to be. So obviously, if this doesn't resonate with you, that is totally okay. Many people have this misconception that spirituality means religion. It means being tied to a certain religion or a certain dogma and having these very set rules and ideals of how you should be practicing and doing things, and that there's a higher power that we have to yield all of our power to, or it feels very constricted and confined, that we have to live, express ourselves and live under these parameters, right? So that's one of the things that people think that spirituality is tied to. And though there can definitely be spirituality in religion, they are not the same thing. They are not the same thing. And then the other thing that people think that spirituality is that it's a very out there, unattainable thing, and that it's people who are really woo-woo, and someone who's just doing rituals and crystals all over and lots of magic and very out there and all these different things. And again, some of those people who may practice in those ways or who present themselves in that way might be very spiritual. I say might be spiritual because when I get into what spirituality means, doesn't necessarily mean that they're really connected with spirituality. But just even though those people might be, if you might be very woo-woo, which I kind of consider myself to be somewhat woo-woo. Obviously, I'm a spiritual director and a Reiki practitioner. And do crystal healing, and I do tarot and use divination. So I definitely would consider myself to be slightly woo-woo. But even though I do those things, spirituality still is not the same thing as that. So why am I saying all that? Because when we think of spirituality in those ways, then we think as that it's something that is, like I said, is unattainable. It's something that is too different, too removed from who we are, and something that we can't get to, that we can't we can't embody that type of energy because it's not who we are. Maybe we feel reservations or fear against it. We don't understand it. We don't want to participate in that kind of stuff. So we can feel turned off to that idea. So I get it. But what if I told you that none of those are spirituality? It has nothing to do with spirituality. And though in themselves, if I could speak English, it would help. In itself, those things, like I said, can definitely contain spirituality within them. But in itself, they are not spirituality. So what is spirituality? Spirituality is when you have the capacity to connect with yourself, with the divine within yourself. And then when you connect with the divine within, you can connect with the divine without. So when we have the ability to connect with ourselves inside, and we can come home to ourselves inside, then that is spirituality. Because there isn't this one man in the sky who's our our spiritual father, and he tells us what to do and we have to live by his rules. That's not how it works. And if there's some religions that believe that, that is okay. People have the right to believe what they want. They have the right to honor and to worship what they want. But spirituality in itself is recognizing the divine in yourself and being able to connect with that. And then in turn, when we connect with ourselves, we connect with everything outside of ourselves. And everything that is happening inside of us is usually happening outside of us, because everything outside of us is mirrored to us. As our internal state often gets mirrored in our external state. So why am I saying all this? And why do I think this video is important right now? With everything that's been going on worldwide, with all the, especially with people being tired, lots of fear that happened in 2020, all these different energies, lots of shedding, it was like huge tower moments, like collapsing and things like that. So there was a moment, how can I say this? It was like an agitation. There was an agitation. And when we have tower moments and agitation, usually when there's a collapse and the agitation happening, that is usually a sign of change, of big change up ahead. Because normally when things change, things have to collapse, fall apart. There has to be huge agitation. So once that agitation, when you're amidst that agitation, or when it's, kind of settling down, you can sit there and now you're in a pause and you're like, what's going on? Where do we go from here now? Where do we move forward? How do we move forward? What is happening? Am I happy with this life? Am I happy with me? Like, what is happening in general? There's a lot of questions people might have. And so this is where spirituality comes into play, because I think it's something so deeply important right now in the energy that we're moving into right now. I think it's something that we need to return to. I think that if we want to do things differently in life, which I really strongly believe that we do need to, that we're going to have to return to that. We're going to have to return to a more connected state. And that's what spirituality is. Spirituality means that we are in tune with ourselves, connected with ourselves. And then when we do that, we connect with others, we connect with the earth, we connect with the all that is. So that is why that is basically what spirituality is, and why I think that it's important to talk about this right now. And the second part, I said, why do I think that spirituality is important for healing? Well, in a society or world, or wherever you want to refer to it as, that basically profits off of people being disconnected and isolated and disconnected with yourself, that echoes in everything around us. Our disconnect from ourselves is echoing in everyone else. When you have the inability to connect with yourselves, to tap into yourselves and to tune in and tune with yourself, we cannot be in tune with somebody else. We can't be in tune with someone else if we are not in tune with ourselves. People can only meet others at the depth that they've met themselves. And so we need spirituality because we need to be able to tune in with ourselves. We need to be able to come back home to ourselves and to recognize who we are, recognize our true self, recognize our true power, and recognize all those things about ourselves that we've forgotten, whether from our wounding when we were children, our upbringing, from our caregivers, parents, whoever it is, from society, from our conditions that we were raised in. Various different things played a role. Our ancestral trauma. There's so many different things that played a role that made us forget who we are. And so when we become connected with ourselves, and that's what I mean by being spiritual, it's connecting with yourself. When we can connect with ourselves, then we can come back to ourselves and recognize who we are. And in turn, when you connect with yourself, then we realize that everyone is connected. We are all connected, and that there really is only one consciousness. And when we are able to do that, then we can have empathy for others. We can start to be kind and compassionate and look at things through that compassionate lens and that empathetic lens, a lens with unconditional love, because now I'm connected with self. I am in tune with self, and I can therefore connect outwardly that way because I've connected inwardly that way. Which is quite the opposite right now with everything that's going on in the hostility. It's basically just everybody who's incredibly wounded. And so when you are in a wounded state, you're looking through things, not only just wounded, because it's not that everyone's angry and hurt, but I mean, at the basis of that, there can definitely be a lot of wounding. But when you have that disconnect, you look at things through an incredibly different lens. And so your interactions outwardly are going to reflect that. So that disconnect within is going to disconnect outwards. You're not going to have empathy when you're interacting with others. You're going to, there's going to be a lot more lashing out, a lot less empathy and compassion. There's going to be lots of jumping to conclusions and lots of people trying to overpower each other and those types of, interactions. So we've had a lot of energy shifts happening in the last little while. We had a solar flare, the Mercury retrograde, and now the strawberry full moon that happened yesterday. And so all of that is just like bringing this all to like a wonderful, almost a conclusion, I guess you can say, because we've been having this state of agitation, and now it's like reached the volcano end, or I don't know the term. It's like erupted, and now it's like, what's happening? So that's why I want to talk about like spirituality and what we needed for healing. So to recap what spirituality essentially is connecting with yourself. It is knowing who you are, knowing your true self, and knowing that you are totally whole and complete and a divine being. And when you are tapped into yourself and tuned into yourself, you realize that you are tapped in and tuned into everything else around you. And you start to look at life in a much different way. You start to look at yourself in a much different way. And you can start to create life differently, at a different vibration. And that's really important. So spirituality is how you connect with yourself, the ability to connect with the divine within. That is essentially what spirituality is in a nutshell. And I think that we need that for our healing more than ever right now, because of how things are right now. And there's a lot of confusion, a lot of misdirection, there's a lot of disconnect. And I know I've talked about that a lot in my videos, but I feel like the agitation was needed because we needed the pause. We needed the pause, and we weren't going to have the pause if we were just constantly going along. So we needed an agitation, and it happened one way or another, and now we're here. So hopefully we can reach a place where we do pause and we can understand how important it is that we come back to who we are and the role that spirituality plays in all of that, and how important it is that we connect with ourselves and that we can use all the tools available to us to start healing, to start that reconciliation, to start peace within. And now we can start to create new ways of being, new ways of experiencing, new ways of loving and looking at things through a new lens that is not one of disconnect and wounding, but rather of peace and of connection and love. So I hope this was a helpful video. If you want to know more about all of that, and if you also want help, I am a spiritual director, so this is what I do, is I help others to connect with themselves and how to become more spiritual, how to include more spiritual practice in their life. And we have spiritual counseling sessions, and they're 1 hour long sessions, or longer if you need, but generally they're 1 hour. But if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to message me. We can talk about this if you want. Know that you are always divinely guided and protected as long as you can pause and listen. And so I really hope you found this video helpful. Please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And I hope you have a beautiful, wonderful day. And know that, you are perfect and whole exactly as you are. And that it's never too late to change things. It's never too late to turn things around. It's never too late to go in the direction that you really dreamed of being. So anyways, sending you so much love. Have a good one. Bye.